Welcome back, everyone. Episode 4.
Colorado's New Hope.
Yes, Colorado's New Hope. They may have found that with a couple of goalie trades completely swapping out their old tandem, I guess.
Yeah, out with the old and with the new.
But before that, we're going to start off with something else. David Juracek to the Wild for a pretty big package. So, Wild receive 20-year-old right shot, 6th overall pick, David Juracek.
Who is 6'4", 204 pounds, 21-year-old, 6th overall pick in the 2022 draft.
Yep.
Definitely.
Columbus receives a first rounder, a third, and a fourth.
This upcoming draft is the first rounder. Next year is the third and the fourth, and then 27 is the second round pick.
Yeah.
And yeah, Wild pick up a fifth rounder in there as well for this upcoming draft. That's a hell of a package, but
it is a gamble.
He's a 22-year-old defenseman. He's a right
20-year-old.
20-year-old, sorry. He's a right shot defenseman, 6'4". Like he's a beast on the back end. Is he going to be Minnesota's Zdeno Chara-like style player who can move the puck?
Only time's going to tell. As of right now, he's 20. Defensemen take longer to develop, and I love Jay Fresh cards, so we're going to bring one up here. You have okay-ish numbers, nothing fantastic, but he's 20, so...
He's a 20-year-old defenseman in the NHL. Those are his NHL numbers. You can only expect those all to go high.
His offense is obviously okay for a 20-year-old. His assists are great. Everything else is questionable. The main thing that I notice here, and the real reason I brought it up, is how much of a chance was he given Columbus? No power play time, no PK time.
He's an offensive defenseman.
Yeah,
he's
as an offensive star.
Upside.
Why didn't you at least give him some power play time?
Because Columbus doesn't know how to develop their players.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility.
He's got offensive upside. He's 6'4", 204 pounds, and he's got 6 games played for Columbus and 1 second average time on attack. That's basically, hey, our power play is coming to an end, and our Zach Werenski needs a break. Get out there, buddy. In the 6 games that he's played, so he played 43 games last year.
You realize how good that Wild decor could be in the future? You already have Faber on the right, so stick Juracek behind him. Have Zeev Buium, who's one of their top prospects, is probably their top left guy. And Spurgeon's not young, but he's young enough to stick around,
Look at Tanev in Toronto. He's mid-30s.
True.
He's an old man by NHL standards, and he's probably the best defenseman the Leafs have seen in a very long time. So
on the defensive side, yes.
Yes. But so you
overall,
can't put a price on that veteran status. If you're still producing it as a veteran, that's a gold mine on its own.
As of right now, I think both trades are okay. I don't look at either side and think, oh, why did GM do that? They're an idiot, Clearly, for whatever reason, Columbus wasn't making it work, and he's a potentially very good hockey player.
He's going to get a shot in Minnesota.
He will. He has been sent down to the AHL since said trade.
That's probably better for him. Let him develop. Columbus would not do that for him. They'd rather have him sitting game after game. Just come watch some hockey. We'll fly out, come watch some hockey. He wants to play. The only way he's going to develop is by playing. He's a 22-year-old defenseman. 21-year-old defenseman. The only way he's going to develop is by playing. It's better to put him down in the AHL.
Yeah.
But why Columbus refused to do that, is beyond me.
I mean, he spent time in the AHL, to be clear.
Yeah, that's where he should be right now.
But it's
not that
a
there's anything wrong
gamble
with that.
the Wild have taken, and I don't think it's a terrible one. Time's going to tell who wins this trade.
Yeah,
But
we won't know for 10 years.
I think it's going to take 10.
There's five draft picks that are switching sides. It's those guys got to develop too.
Yes. But
why
that first rounder, I mean, we're going to know what Juracek is in the next few years. It's not going to take that long to figure out, he needs to be a regular NHL body, 23 years old, at that point. So 3 years from now, that's where he needs to be.
Yeah. But a year in the AHL doesn't hurt him at all.
No, especially a change of scenery too could just help boost him. It's not like that same team that he's been struggling with. But I do like it for both sides.
If Columbus can develop those players that they draft.
Yes, that is a big thing. I mean, Fantilli's having a little bit of a sophomore slump this year, but that is quite normal for almost any player. We'll just see how the rest of their guys go.
Yeah, like you look at their roster, the defensemen that they have playing over Juracek, Columbus isn't going anywhere, but they're playing players like Jack Johnson. He's 37 years old.
Played a lot of games. I mean, their one shining star that they did develop, Zach Werenski, obviously having a very good year this year, but overall he's just been a stud on the back end for them.
Yeah, but where'd they draft him? Like it's really outside like the third round. They don't have really anybody in their lineup. First rounders.
I'm pretty sure he was a first round pick.
He was drafted 8th overall by Columbus.
Yeah, there you go, top 10 pick. But I mean, you can make the argument about quite a few players.
But at that point, if you're projected to be,
go ahead.
But if you're projected to be in a top 10 pick, it's not like you're an unknown player. Every team knows who you are, and some aren't scouting you because, like the Toronto Maple Leafs, probably. Well, if he was drafted this year, they're probably not scouting because they know they're not going to get him.
Well, Werenski was drafted in that amazing 2015 draft, so you know how that was.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at some of Columbus's other picks, like Dubois, obviously Dubois had his own issues, but have Dubois do a big 1-for-1 swap with Line, and then send Line. No.
Sorry, I missed that. You had a little static there.
Can you hear me?
You're cutting in and out. Crickets.
There. Should be good now.
There we go. You mute yourself accidentally?
No, headphones disconnected. All good though?
Oh. Yeah, all good now. But either way, I'm glad for Juracek that he's out of Columbus. It's probably the best. It's obviously the best thing for his career is to get out of Columbus. But he's not getting the playoff time, or he's not getting the playing time, and that's what he needs to develop. And yeah, so it's probably the best thing for him. They got a good return with all their draft picks. And
I think,
depth
like
defenseman.
I said, right now it's a win-win. Time will tell who really wins that trade, but I don't see it as a stupid trade by either side. It's definitely just a good hockey deal. But
not saying there's anything wrong with Werenski, but he's got 15 games played this year. He's got 1 assist, which for his standards, like he's an aging vet. Like, sorry,
Werenski?
Jack Johnson.
Okay, that makes more
Jack Johnson.
sense.
Did
I
I
was
say
gonna say, I
Werenski?
know. Yeah, you did. I was gonna say he has more than 1 assist. I know he
Oh,
does.
yeah, no. Jack Johnson's played almost double and a half the games played that the
He's playing
21 when
bottom
he
pairing minutes. You know, he is what he is at this point.
exactly. So what's the point of playing him over a guy like David Yurchek? Let the guy play and develop.
I'd make
Johnson's
the
had his
argument
career.
if they really want to play your check bottom pairing minutes, it'd be better to send him down to the AHL, get him those top minutes where he can develop his game more.
So
Um,
why wouldn't they do that then? Like, see what I
there's
mean?
some sort of frayed relationship between Juracek and Columbus. Whatever that issue is, we don't fully know, but clearly it's enough to ship out a 20-year-old right shot defenseman. But Columbus does have a little bit of an issue with prospects. Like if you look at what was this 2018 draft? Yeah. 2018 they drafted Liam Foddy or Booty 18th overall. He's played 104 games, 22 points.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he's played 104 games, so that's not terrible, but
That's
you
more
need
than
a
I
little
played.
bit more out of a first rounder. No first rounder is a guaranteed NHLer. I mean, even your top
Yeah,
pick can
yeah, I
be a
can tell.
bust. Yeah, but I
But
would just expect more.
you're like just looking at their stats. You got David Yurchek and Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson's 37 years old. David Yurchek's your up and coming stud defenseman that you're hoping develops. They have the exact same stat lines. Johnson's playing 14 minutes a game. Yurchek is averaging 11-11. And they both have an assist. The big difference offensively, anyway, is Yurchek has 6 games played. Jack Johnson's got 15. So Jack Johnson's a guy that you can have as a healthy scratch because Yurchek's obviously league min, entry level contract. You're not hurting your lineup, and you're probably benefiting in the long run by giving them that like every other game.
Yeah, look at this though. I just pulled
So
up your checks draft here, just looking at other players. So we'll look at other defensemen. So Simon Nemec has played 69 games, 20
nice.
points. I can't see his plus minus. Juracek's played 53 games, 11 points, still, respectable. Kevin Korchinski's one of the highest, 76. Now, one player that I know they're probably kicking themselves and ass for not drafting, Pavel Michukov. May have mispronounced that, but that's okay.
Mint Yukov?
Michukov?
Mint Yukov? Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
Everyone's got to know who we're talking about. Anaheim Ducks guy. So
Mm-hmm.
85 games, 34 points. And I know he's been a real solid guy on the back end.
He's been mint.
And then
Yukov.
12th overall, again, Columbus. Denton Matachuk. Not a game played. Not one. And now I
And
know this is only the 22 draft, and
yeah,
there's still time for him to develop. But
I mean, they could have drafted Rutger McGroarty.
yeah, but would they have wanted all that smoke?
Oh, that's fire.
Realistically, maybe it's not a terrible pick if they needed a defenseman there. Because if you look at defensemen after that, they would have realistically chosen. There's not anyone that pops out. But it comes down to that old debate. Do you take what you need with your pick or the best player available at the position?
I think it really depends on where you're drafting. Like if you're drafting the top 10, I think you're taking the best because defensemen can be developed as well. Like look, there's a history of 4th round defensemen could turn out to be studs.
Yes, of course.
So the top round is
always
usually
possible.
forwards. That was also the I think we mentioned it in Episode 2, Del Bell Blues. That was also that same draft year, 44th overall.
Okay, I almost
But
want to move on from this now, but we'll
Jack
continue.
Hughes could have been drafted. That's a pretty significant jumper. But either way,
Who could have been drafted?
Jack Hughes,
What year are you looking at?
2022. Jack Hughes was drafted 51st overall by the LA Kings.
Okay. Stop messing with me and stop messing with people. That is not the same Jack Hughes. Someone's going
He's
to
a
be
center.
watching this and maybe enjoying this. And then they're like, Jack Hughes, wait, do these guys even know what they're talking about? Do they know hockey?
But in a realistic nature, Lane Hudson was drafted 62nd overall.
That is a stretch, though. You need to look at ones close enough.
If I were Columbus, they made the right pick there, but what they did after is the biggest issue there. So I don't know. It's wasted talent for Columbus. I hope he gets the development that he needs in Minnesota,
Exactly.
and I'm sure he will.
But honestly, good trade for both teams. We'll move on to some other trades that have happened. So the Avs have a pair of trades. We'll go with the oldest one first.
All right.
So they swapped a Noonan and Wedgwood and threw in a pick. So they get Wedgwood back. The Preds get a Noonan. And initially, I was questioning it a lot, and I still am. Noonan's young, but Noonan has played one game with Preds, 9.31 save percentage, good game. Wedgwood has been one heck of a surprise. He's played 3 games and has a 9.51 save percentage through his first 3 games. That is just, no one expected that.
No, Colorado's playing desperate defense because they have Georgiev in the net. When you have a guy that can stop a beach ball, it helps a lot. And
I bet it does.
And Wedgwood, he's probably happy to be out of Nashville and happy to be on a team that has potential to win. So he's probably thankful and taking his opportunity.
Yes, but at the same time, it's a team with different problems. Nashville won't even get started on them, but first team ever to acquire 2 40-goal scorers in the offseason, and they're somehow in the bottom of the league. Makes no sense. But
as of last week, they were Marchessault, or as Don Cherry likes to say, master only. Whatever.
Don Cherry just gave up.
Close enough.
Pronouncing names.
But you know what I mean? As of one point last week, I think it was just before the game they played against the Leafs, when you have these 2 40-goal scorers and they're combining for 10 this early in the season.
Yeah.
And you acquired them just for the sake of scoring. Well, not just, but you acquired them to bolster your biggest issue of goal scoring, and they're not. It's
something, but they made all those off-season acquisitions and extend Saros, but let's not get sidetracked. So they swap a Noonan for Wedgwood, and throwing in the pick was unnecessary in my opinion. Wedgwood, he's not old, but he's older, and Noonan's still young and has more potential to grow into an NHL starter. So good pickup for Nashville. And Noonan could definitely flourish under Saros as the backup for now.
Saros, yeah.
Saros has a good save percentage. He's at a 9.10 this season. He's an elite goalie. It's not his fault that the team in front of him isn't scoring goals.
He's a 29-year-old with a $5 million cap hit. Now he's getting a $2.7 million raise for the next 3 years, starting next year. But
yes, he'll be.
And Noonan's still got 2 seasons left at an 838 cap hit, which is you can bury that if you need to, but you're not going to need to with a Noonan.
No, I mean, he'll be completely fine.
Saros is their for now goalie, and Noonan is their future goalie. That's what they're acquiring, and
That's what the hope would be on their end.
then hopefully that 6th round pick, maybe you draft another goalie, another diamond in the rough goalie that takes on after Noonan, or becomes a tandem with him later on. But Colorado, I think what I bet you what prompted their trade was Georgiev. Like, obviously, they're trying to get rid of Georgiev because the guy can't stop a beach ball.
Moving on to Georgiev, we got that trade today.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a big one. I expected, honestly, it's a really good trade on the Avs part. So the Avs receive Mackenzie Blackwood, who's been a very good goalie on a very bad San Jose Sharks team, Smith, and a 5th. So not bad. And they had to send out Georgiev, a 2nd, a 5th, and Kovalenko to the Sharks. Mm-hmm. So basically they swap 5ths. One 5th's going to end up being a little bit higher than the other. It's not the same year, but is what it is. Smith and Kovalenko are two 25-year-olds that are fringe NHLers. They've both been around. Fresh start for them, I guess. So no real harm there.
Kovalenko's not a guy that you're probably going to win the cup with, but like he's a solid.
They're just
he's a solid
players.
4th liner. Like a guy that you can swap in when you have injuries that you need to slot a guy in for. They're just guys that you can just fill the roster out with.
Yeah.
They're not going to, I mean, Kovalenko, he's not going to do much for your team, but he'll eat up a few minutes here and there, and that's his role. He might get you a point or two every 3 games.
Yeah, I mean, you're not expecting a whole lot. They did retain 14% of Georgiev's salary as well. I don't know why San Jose cared. Maybe they're looking to take on other bad contracts and make some picks from it, but we'll see.
I think the retention is because the more they retain on his salary, the less they have to pay. And I think you're retaining on that salary so you don't have to give up an extra pick. Now it's probably going to be like a 6th or 7th round pick. But
I agree in most trades, but even after the trade today and getting Georgiev, they still have so much cap space, and they're not a team that's going to be worried about their cap hit. So they still have $8 million in cap space. Let's see. So Georgiev is done after this year. I know that. Yeah. So with that retention, he's sitting at 3
million. You said 17%?
14%.
14%. So they're retaining $500,000. It's peanuts.
Well, his full contract is bigger than the 2.9, so that's with the 14% retained.
No, his cap, Georgiev's cap hits 3.4 is for the rest of the season.
Yes,
and that's what they're retaining is $500,000. If you have to retain $500,000 to get rid of the worst goalie in the league,
it's definitely worth it. I'm not going to question the trade at all. The Avs honestly pulled off a great trade, retention or no retention. And I believe that the Sharks could have gotten more for Blackwood because there's a few teams that are looking for goalies, and there's not many options out there, especially at a cheaper cap. So if that's all it was to get the trade through, great. I just question why the Sharks want it. I assume it's because they're going to use their cap to take on other bad contracts.
No, they also, yes, like you start Georgiev, you're putting yourself in the best position. Like you're competing with Ottawa, you're competing with Montreal. For the most part, Montreal's your competition. You got to lose games. You start Georgiev on a really bad team. He's getting sunk for the rest of the season. He doesn't sign an NHL contract next year because he's been awful. But if you're the Sharks,
he'll
you're not
get something. maybe a PTO. Like he's not going to be cast out of the league.
You'll go the way of Matt Murray.
Maybe he'll play well in the Sharks. Maybe he'll turn it around. I'm kind of half serious.
You know what? I hope he does. I hope he does.
So do I. Like, as far as I know, he's not a bad guy.
I don't know a thing about his personality, but on ice, he may as well be a defenseman.
Yeah. But basically,
defenseman.
The Sharks get futures in exchange for a goalie that they paid a fourth for not too long ago. So they turned that fourth into a second, a fifth, and I guess they swapped Smith for Kovalenko. But overall, I give it a good trade grade.
Now, if you're Colorado, you're getting Giovanni Smith. Like if draft selection plays anything into that, Kovalenko was drafted in the 6th round. Smith was drafted in the second, like halfway through the 2nd round. But he's not doing much. Like he's averaging 5 points a season, and he's playing half the games.
He's nothing but a depth player. There's no reason to really overanalyze them. Avs get like A minus for this trade. Wasn't too much to pay. They get a goalie that should be capable of being in a tandem with like a 1A, 1B. Your 1A is going to outshine the other ones. So there you go.
No, it's not uncommon for the Colorado Avalanche to go on an 8-game winning streak, and nobody hears anything about it. But I bet you that probably happens. Do they go on a 15-1 run like the Winnipeg Jets did to start the season? Because now they have confidence in goaltending.
Well, they have 2 different goalies, so that's completely possible. I think the Sharks are doing well with it. Like I said, I think they could have gotten a little bit more considering the desperation of the Avalanche. But I'd give them like a, B plus-ish.
I think that's fair.
It's good. They have Askarov down there. You have to keep that in mind too. And
they just picked him up in the offseason.
Yeah, he's been looking great in the AHL. Very, very solid. So they still get a good return. It's going to help with the rebuild. And having Georgiev is honestly going to help them tank. So maybe get another top 5 pick and, kind of complete that rebuild in a way. And in terms of your cornerstone pieces, doesn't mean they're going to be good right away, but you'll have they have Celebrini, they have Will Smith, they have Eklund, they have Askarov, so throw someone else in there.
They still have Vanacek.
Yeah, Vanacek's another one that could be shopped, towards the trade deadline.
Askarov went to San Jose. Like Askarov Askarov, he went to San Jose because he thought that was his best chance of making the NHL. Most direct path. And if they get they have another goalie, they have another goalie that they can shop, and I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see that. But
his problem was the NHL. He didn't want to be stuck as backup. That 7-year extension that Saros signed kind of just confirmed his exit out of Nashville. That's all. But
I mean, Askarov, he plays for the Sharks. He's got a .927 save percentage. Now it's only 2 games, but
yeah, he's fine. Like his AHL numbers are lights out. He's a great goalie prospect. So
Vanacek is on a bad team, so if you put him on a half decent team, he's league average. So you have him tandeming with Georgiev. It's they're competing for that first pick.
The Avalanche have completely revamped their goalie tandem. We'll see what happens from here on out. I agree they could go on a massive win streak.
I think it's going to happen.
Standings.
They have confidence in goaltending.
Well, they have 2 of the best players in the world, and then you can add Rantanen onto that. They just got Ross Colton back off IR. I know that because I have him in fantasy, and thank God he's back. That man scores goals. And let's not overlook Devin Taves, Samuel Girard. They have lots of good players. So
Now, is it Devin Taves or is it Devon Taves? Because I
I've
hear
heard
both.
both.
I hear both.
Okay. I say Devin, but it could be Devon.
Devon. I
Maybe if he watches this, we'll get him on here for a quick interview.
We'll call him Toes.
Maybe we won't get him on here for a quick interview. He'll see this and be like, "Oh no, they're weird."
But by the
Okay.
time this podcast makes anything of it, he's gonna be retired.
Probably.
We're gonna be 50 years old. We brought back from the 2024 hockey when we were talking about Devon Taves. My back just went out.
What, like yours?
Yeah, like mine right now, except worse.
Okay, so anyway,
Yeah.
moving on from the Avs. Good job to them. Good job to San Jose. Just
They're gonna win. I bet you they
good
go
for
on
Nashville too.
8-1.
That's kind of a triple win for all those teams. So this will be kind of a quick thing. But the Blackhawks fired their head coach a few days ago. Like, I don't know what they were expecting. You have players that are gonna have sophomore slumps. Sometimes people avoid them, but it's not always avoidable, even for Bedard.
And it's not like he's playing horribly. Like he's still their best player because they have Bedard and a bunch of low end second and third liners, and like they picked up Bertuzzi over from the Leafs. They picked him up in a free agency, but like
It's funny
now
you mention him.
he's got
I
more goals at
saw
this point right now than he did pretty much until February last year.
I saw a video of Bertuzzi on the Hawks, a recent highlight.
I
So
think the dump and
yeah,
twist.
you're probably thinking of the same one. So Bedard
Yeah,
makes a couple really nice dangles. It's an empty net. The Hawks are, I think, trying to tie it up, and passes it off to Bertuzzi. Bertuzzi has time. I mean, not a lot of time, but as far as NHL goes, he has time. And he decides to just dump it into the zone. Not even a shot on net, just along the boards. I think it was Winnipeg, right?
yes, yeah, it was in Winnipeg.
Immediately they get possession, go the other way, and the Winnipeg player literally just skated it into the empty net. Didn't even shoot it, just skated it in. But like,
Merry Christmas.
if you're Bertuzzi and Bedard draws 2 or 3 guys to him and he gives you the puck right on your stick, you need to tie this game. Why are you ringing it around the boards?
Now,
Like,
if I remember the highlight correctly, there was a Blackhawks player in the vicinity, but it's not now. If you can bring up the replay, but it's not like Bertuzzi was at the blue line. I want to make this clear. Like he was at the hash marks along the boards when he dumped and chased it. At that point, pass it back to your defenseman for and go to the net, or throw it on net and hope for a bounce. Like, is that a guy just going through the motions because he plays for the Blackhawks? And he's regretting signing there now because he thought he'd get to play with Bedard, and now it's like, oh no, what did I do? At least I'm making money. Like, you know what I mean? It was awful, but is there another team you would expect that to come from? Like the Blackhawks?
yes, I mean, they're not supposed to be good. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with not being good. They still have work to do.
But their management thought that they would take a step this year. Why did they think that they were going to take a step?
I don't think they're expecting a huge step for the team. I think they're more disappointed in the regression of some young players, and that's why their coach got the boot. Like, they're sitting 7th overall in the Central and second last overall in the Western Conference. They're actually tied with Nashville. They just have more wins than Nashville, that's all.
I want to see if you can get this. There are two. Don't pull up the roster. There are currently 2 players on the Chicago Blackhawks with a plus minus of 0 or more that have played over 20 games. Who are they?
There's two.
There's two. There's more guys in the negative double digits than there are zero or plus. Don't
Well, I
don't
mean,
pull it
they're
up. I want to
not.
see if you can get them.
Jason Dickinson. I remember seeing a stat. Is he one?
No, he's -2.
Um,
I'll give you a hint.
okay. Are they vets or are they young guys? Just give me that and I'll guess.
Vets.
Is there one defenseman, one forward?
No, they're both forwards.
Okay. Mikheyev?
Mikheyev, yeah, he's one. He's a
I
what
know
was
he's
he? He's a
decent
+2.
defensively.
He's a +1.
Foligno?
Foligno is a -10.
Oof. Okay, who's the other guy?
Mr. 3 cup finals back to back. Sorry, 3 cup wins back to back is Pat Maroon. The big rig is a
look at
perfect
him go.
even.
Well, on the Hawks, that's like a +20.
Yeah. Come to the Leafs, would you? Play alongside with Pacioretty.
But
That'd be scary.
I don't think the coaches are to be fired. They're a dumpster fire, is what it is. They're rebuilding. They'll get a high pick, add someone else to play with Bedard. Potentially, they could even flip some contracts. I'm gonna bring them up on Puckpedia here.
So while you bring that up, one of my buddies is a Blackhawks fan, and he was surprised that Brody is not having a good season. And when he said that to me, I'm like, have you heard anything that I've said about the Leafs the last couple of years? Brody gets caved he would get caved every single game when he was online with Morgan Riley. Brody is a guy who went to Chicago because he knew he'd get some playing time. I was hoping he'd revamp his career, but I was glad that the Leafs did not resign him.
Okay.
Because he was terrible last year.
It's what it is. He's older.
Yeah. He's playing with the Leafs, so I guess it's pretty proportionate. This year he's a -8 through 24 games with the Blackhawks. Last year he was +17 through 78 games with the Leafs, so that's pretty proportionate. When you have, if you have all four of those ringers, and you got Matthews, Marner, Tavares, and Nylander, if all of them are firing, any of them could get a hat trick any single game, and you're playing the top line with Morgan Riley.
Yes, it's gonna help.
Yeah.
But sticking with the Hawks, they have a lot that they could do. I fully expect them to be selling a lot at the deadline. So you have Taylor Hall, who's a UFA at the end of the season. He signed to a $6 million deal, retain half of that, and he has a 10-team no trade list. So lots of teams out there he could be shipped to. And chances are he's going to want to chase a cup.
But what's his contract? $6 million?
So retain 50, ship him somewhere. $3 million for Taylor Hall. I would be more than happy to take that on.
Go for it. I don't if you can get a third team in there to retain 25. So you got 75% retained. Maybe he's worth it. $2 million for Taylor Hall. He's not the Taylor Hall back of what he was.
He's not the heart-winning Taylor Hall, no, but he came off being injured from last season, had a rough start, and he now has 12 points in 27 games. So he's doing okay.
10. He's got 5 and 5.
I have 6 and 6 here.
Oh, is that
where are you looking?
Maybe on the TSN.
I'm looking on the NHL website.
Maybe he got.
He scored 1 goal, 1 assist tonight against the Rangers. So there you go. Um, he's still capable, so that's my point. Obviously, the Rangers are a whole other issue right now, but uh,
It,
you
in my
know,
opinion, Taylor Hall right now on a cup contending team, he's a guy that you're throwing into the fourth line for to eat up some minutes, and hopefully he can put a goal in the back of the net in this series.
he's still capable, especially
Mm-hmm.
against players that play the third or fourth line roles. If you get him on your third line as a winger, he's not gonna hurt you.
I don't disagree, but
He's
um,
he could be a valuable depth piece.
I think
But
I think
Chicago has other pieces to sell.
I think he can be a valuable fourth liner on a cup contending team if you can get him for $2 million,
I
aka
mean, teams do that
75%.
all the time, you know, all the time. So you get a third team in there, you get a Anaheim in there, you get a San Jose in there, you get some other team in there to retain cap, you're good. Because it's just for this season. It'd
Mm-hmm.
be very easy to convince a team to do so. Just pay them a little bit.
I if yeah, I
There
agree
are
100.
some other people they could trade. Um, Ryan Donato's 28. He has 2 mil for this year, and that's it. He's a center. You know, he's not a big scorer or anything, but he's not going to fit into the Blackhawks rebuild with his age.
I mean, he's second in scoring.
He is,
He's
but
second in scoring on the Blackhawks.
if you're a dumpster fire and you want to get a high pick, a 28-year-old that's second in scoring on your team could fetch you some picks.
On a terrible team.
Yes, exactly.
Uh,
And Mr. Big Rig, Pat Maroon, has 1 year left on his deal. He signed 1.3. You know, teams would probably want him just for the good luck. Apparently, he just wins cups, even if he plays on the fourth line.
It's what he does.
Craig Smith, I can't see him honestly drawing a lot of attention.
Mm-mm.
On the decor, they don't have a whole lot that they're going to be selling. One sec here. Plug in the good old laptop. Um,
Yeah,
they could debatably move one of their vets to, you know,
so
Mikiev's 30. I honestly question their Bertuzzi and Teravainen signings. Both are good players. Both are good signings for okay money.
he's a complimentary piece. When
But
Bertuzzi, when he was a Leaf, he hit his scoring touch when he finally got put on the line with Matthews. When Matthews and Domi and Bertuzzi were going, they're putting up 2-3 points every single game. But when he wasn't with those guys, I think through his first 40 games, he had 1 goal and 3 assists or something like that.
I don't know if it was
Like
that bad, but it
it
wasn't
was
great.
atrocious. Like I remember thinking, okay, this guy's got to do something. At his cap hit, he's got to do something. And then he went on a tear. Like he went on a tear after that, but it took him till Christmas to find his form, if not
It
later.
can be like that with the new team too. But we'll see. They're definitely going to be sellers. They'll add some future pieces, whether it's prospects or picks to draft themselves. But we'll
But
see.
yeah, so they fired Luke Richardson. Are you surprised? He's 57 wins, 118 losses, 15 overtime losses. Are you surprised with that? I'm,
You can't look at that though.
I
You
mean, he was
can't just look at that because you
okay.
can't judge
This
by a rebuilding team.
the season that they were supposed to take a step forward, 8-16-2 when they fired.
It is what it
They
is. But
the management, I think they think they're a better team than what they are. And I don't know what they saw maybe they were hoping Bedard was going to turn into Connor McDavid in his second year in the NHL and put up 150 points. But I don't know what they saw. They have a roster full of second and third liners plus Connor Bedard. That's what they have realistically, and their starting goalie is Peter Mrazek. Now he's having a good season, so far. But
Good
their
season on a
goaltending
bad
is not
team.
their issue.
You know,
Like Soderblom's doing well. Like they're both above league average goalies. They have nothing on for forwards, and they have a lackluster decor. People thought they were going to be contending for a playoff spot, or at least their management thought that's where they maybe could be this season. But it's not going to happen. Everybody knew it wasn't going to happen this year.
it's fine. You know,
But
it's part of the rebuild process. It sucks, but it's fine. It's expected.
coaches getting fired. It's part of the game. It happens. The coach's lifespan, I think I saw not too long ago, was only like
very,
3 or 4
very
years.
short. Yes.
Like Sheldon Keefe having 8 seasons with the Leafs, it was, in my opinion, the last couple of years overdue. Like that firing
They
was
should have
overdue,
fired Keefe before they fired Dubas, honestly.
They didn't fire
Or fired
Dubas.
both at the same time.
They didn't fire Dubas. They didn't resign
Okay, well,
him.
yes, they didn't resign him, so there was no job offer after his contract expired. That's all. But I want to talk about another player that was traded kind of this off season, Patrick Laine, who unfortunately got injured. And we're just gonna go through here and play a few clips of this man.
He's got a great shot. He knows
does.
how to finish.
Honestly, the trade is working out pretty damn well for the Montreal Canadiens. He has 3 goals now in 4 games back.
And the highlight that I saw of that first goal in his first game back, it looked like Patrick Laine. He fakes the one-timer, holds the puck, picks his spot, rips it far side top corner, and the world keeps on spinning. Like it was a heck of a shot, and that's why he gets the money that he gets.
So here it is. Patrick Laine.
In Ovechkin's office.
They'll work it around. Hudson. Suzuki. Back to Lane Hudson. Laine.
Holds, picks the spot. Bam.
It's that fake shot that freezes him.
Exactly. So that's the first one. Now, we're going to compare it to a 5-on-3 goal that he had the very next game.
Okay, 5-on-3.
So, still.
You're almost expecting him to score at that point.
Look at how similar this goal is. So, good possession by the Canadiens. And stops, picks, goal.
Same thing, except there wasn't a fake one-timer in the other side corner. The first
and
goal
I have not seen this goal from tonight, but we'll see what it looks like. I swear to God, if it's the same goal again, it's going to be good. So,
bring it.
Let's see what we got here.
Lane Hudson. Suzuki Slafkovsky flings it wide. Agrees the point.
Okay, good keep.
Suzuki.
Oh, an actual one-timer. There we go. A little bit different, but still, what a release. And honestly, it's just so nice to see him back, mentally healthy, scoring goals, doing his thing.
He's happy. Like Patrick Laine, he's always been a guy that loves the spotlight, and there's nothing short of that in Montreal.
Yeah, certainly not. It's Montreal. That's one of the most dedicated fan bases out there. Whether they want to boo you off the ice or cheer for you, they're there.
Doing the same thing on either side of that spectrum every single game right now.
But Laine's back. Trade's paying off massively for Montreal.
It's going to help them significantly because Laine is going to put pucks in the net, and that's what they desperately needed.
Well, they have Laine and Caulfield. Those are two elite goal scorers.
Any given season, those guys can put up 40.
It's just up to them.
They have what Nashville thought they were getting.
And younger at that. But I mean, when you sign two aging forwards to big deals, what do you expect?
Some regression, but
no one expected this. It's not great. But honestly, welcome back, Patrick Laine. Glad to see him back and scoring goals.
He's got good finish. He's got good finish.
I see what you're doing there. The finish.
Finish.
We're gonna move
That's
on
where we'll
to
draw the line.
our last topic, and it is the Four Nations rosters and snubs, people who should have been there, people who weren't there. So we'll start off, with both of our favorites, Canada.
Oh, is that the team we're cheering for this year?
Well, I don't know about you, but I am. If you're not, you might want to find a new country to live in.
I'll probably pay less in taxes.
Don't let Trudeau hear you say that.
But it's Trudeau.
Moving on. So, Canada's official roster, we got... Oh, wait, this is not the official roster. This was the projected roster, sorry. So, this is from NBON Hockey. Love the guy. Lots of good content.
No, I would love to see that. The Hyman, McDavid, Marner line. Oh, that's scary.
It would be something, given I understand why they didn't include Hyman this year.
Because you can't bank on someone shooting the puck off of you and in.
So this is the official Canadian roster. I'm going to disagree with some picks here. I am fine with McDavid. I mean, some of these guys are obvious locks. You know, David, Crosby, McKinnon, Marner, Stone, Hagel, Marchand to some extent, Reinhart. Konechny's quietly had a very good year. Sam Bennett, he's not a bad player. He's a very good player. But I would have rathered, Suzuki or Scheifele. Apparently, Suzuki didn't want to play for Team Canada during the last IIHF Cup, and that's why they didn't invite him for this one, because grown men wanted to hold a grudge. And they did callbacks to some players that didn't make it. Like Tavares got a call, Drake Batherson got a call, but they didn't call Nick Suzuki. That's how salty they were about him denying it last time. So that's probably the main reason he's not on here. But is what it is.
It is what it is, but again, it's Team Canada. You could build a second team of roster cuts, and they're still competitive with almost any nation out there, and would probably dominate most of them. So,
outside of Bennett, honestly, I don't really have a huge issue with anyone. Cirelli, you could swap out for someone else, but he's still good enough to be there. Defensively, I kind of have a different opinion on a few of these guys. So, Makar is obviously a lock.
And you're not going to not take his D partner. the guy he
Taves, even
plays
though
most
he had a
comfortable with.
slow start to the season, I can see the argument because they play together. But Petrangelo, I would have rather Dougie Hamilton, plain and simple. You know, it's just, it would have been better. Parayko, I can see the argument because he's so good defensively. Morrissey's earned the right to be there. And the extra defenseman being Sanheim here, I would have rathered Evan Bouchard. I know Bouchard isn't as good defensively, but he's just such a dynamic player. He could have carried that team.
Offensively.
Even defensively, yes, he's had some blunders this year, but overall, people focus on that, but he hasn't been that bad. He still controls the game quite well.
We've talked about this before. I think it was episode 2. It was definitely episode 2, I think, when we discussed Evan Bouchard and whether or not he'd make the team or not. I said he wouldn't, and he's got all the skill in the world. I mean, look at that one goal he just scored against Ottawa where he dangled half their team.
Yes. I don't need
Incredible
to be reminded
goal.
of that.
But on the flip side, for my team, when the Oilers came to town, there was a goal where he was the closest player to the puck the entire way down the ice until he wasn't. Bobby McMahon ended up scoring that goal because he blew by the guy. And Bouchard's a very fast player. He's an amazing skater. You have to be that mobile. But
yes, I think he was gassed. I know the exact play. And, maybe it was laziness. Maybe once he thought he wasn't going to catch him, maybe he should have kept skating. But
I'm not saying I'm a great hockey player because I'm not. But, I mean, his body language in that, considering he was standing straight up, you could have put a stick, like you could have put a big yardstick right through his jersey, and it wouldn't bend at all because he was standing straight up. Whether you're gassed or not, if you're standing straight up, it's a horrible look. That's the body language of I don't give a darn.
Well, I'm sure he's gonna remember that, and I'm sure he heard about it from coach. So,
and then
outside of that,
the turnover he had to Matthew Nyes, later on in the game.
Yes, he's had some defensive blunders, but he still could have been useful as a seventh G-man.
Canada's had in many throughout history, they've had the opportunity to basically just say, here's our 12 best forwards, here's our 6 best defensemen, and here's our 3 goalies, and our third goalie is going to be better than any of your goalies.
Goalies, now that you're mentioning it, huge issue this year. No disrespect to Hill, Bennington, or Montembeault, but Jesus Christ, is that the best we could do?
Now Bennington,
it is.
Bennington, he carried the St. Louis Blues back from last place.
Absolutely did.
He did.
Hill, you have to keep in mind what Hill did. He carried the Knights.
So these guys, the one thing that both those guys have in common is they've won cups as a starting goalie. Bennington in his rookie season. That's one thing that most of Canada's roster has is championship players that know how to win. McKinnon's won a cup. Reinhardt and Bennett just won a cup. Marchand's won a cup with the Bruins.
You can argue the championship caliber and whatnot, but Bennett he shouldn't make the team just because he's won a cup. It would be like sticking, I don't know if Pat Maroon's Canadian, but you can't stick Pat Maroon there just because he's won a cup. If there's a better player available, you take that better player.
Bennett, the only argument that I would make for Bennett is if he had penalty killing, but he doesn't.
No, Cirelli is definitely that PK guy.
He's a guy that he can score. Like right now, it's not like he's a bad player. He is not one of the guys that I would have on that roster. But he's still a point per game player.
All these players are elite NHL guys. I'll make that clear.
They're all first.
Either are elite or have been elite at some point. Parayko, his offense is bad now, but his defense is superb. Petrangelo's fallen off a little bit, but was elite.
Now we'll get to Team USA's roster, but when we get to it, you'll see the firepower that they have.
Yeah, let me bring that up now.
But we'll bring it up in just a second though. But like, it's not like Canada's had the luxury of basically sending their top players and having them figure it out. And that's because their fourth line throughout history has been able to match other countries' first lines.
Yes, that's been our advantage.
And they don't have that anymore. So they have to have an identity. There's one thing that all these players, except for really Bennett, has in common is they've won cups, like the forwards I'm talking about. But two, they can all play defense. They can all play defense, and everybody knows these teams have three. Realistically, these teams have three valid top scoring power plays, and all three of these teams can score on the power play with the players that they have. But can you kill the penalties? And that's what a lot of these guys have. Crosby can kill penalties. Cirelli is a penalty killer.
Yes, there's lots of guys on here that can play good D.
Marner has been killing penalties on the Leafs for several years now. In the playoffs, that's a whole different story. But still, all these guys can kill penalties, and that's one of the big things. And Marchand's like up, top? Maybe he's even tied now or he's up there in like current shorthanded goals.
Yes, there's lots of guys that have different roles. They're not just looking for offense; they're looking for well-rounded players. But we're running a little short on time, so we're going to jump to Team USA here. So Team USA, once again, stacked. Hughes, Matthews, Tkachuk.
I've heard that Matthews guy is
pretty
decent.
Sorry. Once again, this is not the right tab. Let me get up the correct one. That was a projected roster.
Hey, Columbus is represented here. Attaboy.
There, Team USA. This is the real roster. There. Show that one instead. So here's your legit roster.
Mm-hmm. The biggest edge they have is goaltending, obviously.
Goaltending is so elite. It is unbelievable.
The first thing we'll talk about is goaltenders. Who would you have as your third goaltender out of those three guys?
Easily Swayman, based on what's happened this year. I do not blame Swayman, but that's where he would be set.
That's fair. Now, if he had signed that contract earlier in the summer, gone through his full training camp, he's probably in a much different situation than he is right now. But if he was playing like he was last year, would your answer still be the same?
I'd probably put Swayman in over Ottinger in that case. It's very close. Hellbuck's clear-cut number one, but it's very close between those two. They're two very skilled players. It's hard to decide.
Now, I would have Ottinger, in my opinion, as your I'd probably have Ottinger as your first goalie. I still think Swayman would probably be my third goalie on this one.
Okay.
Ottinger's been, and here's why. Ottinger has been to the third round. The only reason he didn't make the Cup Finals is McDavid. McDavid basically McDavid this is our series, and McDavid was McDavid. And when he's going, he doesn't care if you're like he can make Bobby Orr look like
McDavid's a generational talent. He carried the Oilers to the Cup final along with Draisaitl. But yes, Ottinger's a very good goalie.
Ottinger, I would have as probably starting goalie, and
Hellbuck's earned that though.
He has.
He's been incredibly good.
I take any of those guys on my roster.
Yes. Looking at the forward lineup, though, I can disagree with some picks here more than the Canadian team, or I guess about the same as far as number. But Nelson and Kreider, I would throw Tage Thompson in there. I'd throw Caulfield in there.
I would
You
agree.
know, like
And so I was reading up a little bit on Tage Thompson. Did you know at one point he hit basically like I think it was like the year before his draft year. He almost grew like a full foot or something like that because he was a fairly small player when he
yes,
started in
and
the NCAA, and then he just grew like a weed.
he had a late growth spurt and turned into a monster.
So he grew up playing small man hockey and had the hands of these small elite players like Marty St. Louis. Then he just, oh, by the way, now I'm 6'8".
Yeah, to grow that amount, no one really expects it. It does happen from time to time with players, but it's just it can really help careers. Like Drake Batherson, he didn't have that much of a growth spurt, but he did grow and fill out quite a lot. So
Yeah.
it made him the player that he is now.
Now, this has been one of my criticisms of USA, and USA has a very, very stacked team. Like they could win it, but one criticism that I've had for USA in general is they don't have as many well-rounded players. Like they have a lot, especially on the defensive side, they have a lot of players that either put the puck in the net or keep the puck out of your net.
You have to look at Fox, Slavin, McAvoy, if you're talking about that. Those three are incredibly well-rounded defensemen. Fox and McAvoy can be very good offensively and will shut you down defensively.
I'm not saying
Slavin's,
these guys can't. I'm talking about like Hockey USA in general. They don't produce extremely well-rounded players, like guys that like you know where I'm going with this.
I don't think I agree based on this roster.
On this roster, I would disagree with what I just said. But
we're discussing this roster. Yes. We're not talking in general. This is the USA roster. Okay. These are most of their best players. So
okay, don't yell at me.
You want me to yell at you?
Would you like to yell at me?
No, you might like it. No, these are good players. Like, honestly, I want Canada to win, but the USA is looking good. Their decor is amazing. You know, those three alone are so elite and well-rounded. Slavin's not as good offensively, but he'll be able to allow Fox to be even more offensive than he already is. McAvoy with Hughes. Hughes is going to be allowed to play his game. Werenski and Faber should balance out and allow them both to be two-way. But my only real question on this is Kreider. Like, you can't just stick Kreider there because he's usually there. Put Thompson in. Kreider, last time I checked, didn't have an assist on the season.
Kreider. Just pulling the stats up now, but the one guy I'd be surprised with at the end of this tournament if he doesn't ask for a trade out of Detroit. I would be surprised if Larkin isn't looking to move outside of Detroit, because he's going to go to this tournament. He's going to be like, this is what it's like to play with good players.
Do you really think Larkin's going to want to move, though?
I don't know his personal life, but every hockey player grows up.
FYI, these aren't bad stats. Nelson has 17 points through 29 games this year. Like, not bad, but that's not elite. You have better options. The thing is, I believe Dylan Larkin is from Michigan. I want to double check that, but yes, he's from Michigan. Like, is he going to want to leave his hometown team that he is the captain of?
He put a price on winning the Stanley Cup.
He has good players with him. He's 28, so he's been stuck there for a bit, obviously, but I'm fine with their centers, by the way. I like Larkin in that group. Other than that, I don't really have too many complaints. The Kachuk brothers make sense.
So
Hughes
you
certainly
said
makes
Chris
sense.
Kreider. Chris Kreider, you would not have there.
No.
He has
I would
one
not.
assist.
Okay, so he got an apple since I last checked.
He picked up an assist. But no, I would not have Kreider there. Brock Nelson is the other one you said you would not have there.
No, Nelson's still a good player. It's just there's better options. That's all.
So we've identified Tage Thompson as one of those options.
Yes. I agree with, I'm going to highlight his comment. This man right here. Great minds think alike.
Jake Fetz. Or
Jake
Fletz.
Fetz. Shout out to you, dude.
I can't disagree.
But like, if you look at Thompson this year, 15 goals, 7 assists through 23 games, which is good enough for 22 points. Good stats on a bad Buffalo team.
I was gonna say on the Sabres.
And Caulfield, 27 games played, 17 goals, 8 assists, 25 points. You're not telling me adding those two in and shuffling the lines however they would need to be shuffled wouldn't be better.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I was just checking to see if any of them are really penalty killers, and with regards to Kreider's case is that he is a penalty killer, but Nelson isn't.
Kreider, you can make that case, but the Rangers just aren't good this year, so they have no business being on there, given they could still easily win this tournament, but those two don't have any business being on here.
No, Kreider, he is the penalty killer. He's playing just over 2 minutes a game on the penalty kill, and they have the second best penalty kill in the league.
You know who else is a penalty killer? Matthews, Miller.
Yes, they are.
Brady's sometimes on the PK. If he's not in the box, you know.
Matthew Tkachuk, he has played a penalty kill role.
Exactly.
And hold on, not in the traditional sense. He played a penalty kill. I can't remember if it was playoffs or regular season, but he went on the penalty kill specifically for the role to fight Pasternak.
Oh, I remember that because Pasta asked if they could fight, and
Yeah,
his coach was like, "Yeah, go for it." It's like, "Coach, I want to fight him." Okay.
I just watched that interview for the first time in a while, just the other day, and it is so funny. Like Kachuk's like, like I said, hey, like I'm gonna come after you if you don't settle down, and or come after you guys if you don't settle down. And Pasternak's ready to fight. He has to turn to the coach. Hey, can I fight? Montgomery.
Yeah.
Do you want to fight? Yeah. Kachuk. I'm going on the PK, coach. You're not a penalty killer. I'm fighting Pasternak. What?
Exactly.
That's amazing.
But honestly, good team. And their extras are Trocheck and Hannafin. Hannafin's great. Trocheck's okay. He could have been switched out for Thompson or Caulfield once again, but whatever. You know.
Your extras are just there if there's an injury.
Now, we'll go to one of two Scandinavian teams. We'll start off with Sweden here. So Sweden, obviously not quite as stacked up front as Canada and the States, but still not bad. Pettersson's been on a heater as of late. Nylander's great. Forsberg hasn't been as good this season, but still he's Forsberg, you know.
Yeah, but who's he playing for?
Exactly.
The team with the best penalty kill.
Yes. And second line, Jesper Bratt's been great this year. Lindholm got off to a hot start with the Bruins, Elias Lindholm, but cooled down a little bit, so we'll see if he can get it going again. Kempe's been okay. William Karlsson's been okay. Zibanejad has not been super great for the Rangers, but the Rangers haven't been super great either. So
Yeah, they have
that's
been
more a
super great for
Ranger
the
issue.
Rangers.
Raymond's been good. He's an elite talent on the wings, even though the wings haven't been great. And your last
That
line is,
contract is a great contract, by the way, for the record.
oh yeah, big time.
It, especially with the cap going up the way it is.
Yep.
Whew, you just proportionally, you just signed Lucas Raymond for what he is at like $4 million comparatively. Like it's a hell of a signing for the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah.
But
for that fourth line, though, I mean, they could have probably thrown in Backlund from the Flames, not over Eriksson Ek, but taken out Arvidsson. Arvidsson hasn't been great this season. Or they could have thrown in like Zetterlund or Carlson, but
Backlund maybe for the pen. Like honestly, Backlund I can't see swapping in. He's not putting up the points that he
Arvidsson has
was,
done almost nothing though.
but he's still.
He's still what?
For the sake of penalty killing, I could see that the penalty killings, and I mean he's
Well,
on.
if you're looking at
He's
penalty killers
+5.
here, Eriksson Ek is going to be your number one unit. Just him alone on the ice, he's that good.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic, but overall, I think they did a pretty good job. I mentioned Leo Carlson; he's actually extra, so that's okay.
Yeah,
and their defense core is so good. Dahlin, Forsling, Hedman, Rasmus Anderson, Ekholm, Carlson. I think Ekholm will balance out Carlson like he does with Bouchard. I think that's going to be a great pair. And
he has to.
It's just a very solid core. And then to have Markstrom, Ullmark, and Gustafsson, you'll have Markstrom and Gustafsson battling for that starter spot. Ullmark's the third string based on his play. But that's once again, Canada would love to have Ullmark as their starter.
Again, it's gonna be what, like a 5-game tournament.
There's a round robin to determine placement, and then the tournament. So
you play three round robin games, then a 5-game tournament if you make the finals.
Yeah, something like that.
So it's a 5-game tournament. There's not enough time to assess who your starting goalie is. Like it's
by battling, I mean someone's going to choose one of them and they're going to win and get the starting role. I don't mean they're actually going to judge that much.
No, you know what I'm saying though. It's Philip Gustafsson is the highest goal scoring goalie in the tournament.
Yeah, I guess so. But hey, Ullmark had a goal a couple of years ago.
We're talking this season. That's what this is based off of this season. And
they're a real underdog, and I'm fine with their roster. But we're going to move to the other Scandinavian country.
Yeah.
We'll take a look at Team Finland.
Now, Laine, from what he's returned to be, they're very happy that he pulled back. For me, this is offensively the third best team in the tournament.
Yes. They're very good. I mean, Rantanen's a 50-goal scorer. Barkov is a Selke winner. Lehkonen is good enough to play up there. Aho's quietly very good. Teravainen's been okay this season. Not spectacular, but he's been good. Laine is obviously lights out right now, so that's a great addition for them. Not enough people say this, but Granlund is doing amazing on the San Jose Sharks. Like, so good.
It's easy to stand out when you're playing for a team like that.
It certainly is, but
if you're putting up those kind of points, yeah.
Yeah, he has 30 points in 28 games. No one was expecting that, but
no.
It is what it is. It's good. Kakko's had consistent production this year. I'll give the guy that. So he earned the spot there.
And it's not like it's been out of the realm for what he's been throughout his career, like a 0.5, 0.6 per game.
Yes.
But
Other than
that guy,
that,
he's not making either Canada or USA if he could.
no.
Like, he's not making the second roster.
Their bottom line here, though, Lundell's great. Holla and Lusterainen, they're both good players, but they probably could have put in maybe Tolvanen or Kakiniemi, one of those two. But I don't think they made any bad decisions here. You know, still a fair lineup. The thing that's really gonna not be great for them is their decor. Heiskanen, number one D-man, and then it drops off.
Yeah, they're
like Lundell's good, Mikola's good, Ristolainen's good. They're all okay defensemen, but I shouldn't actually say Ristolainen's good. He's okay.
Like Mata, like, what's the matter with you? Like, he's not making Canada or USA's second roster.
What could carry them through this is UC Saros and Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Amazing name.
Sorry?
Look at it.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Yeah, it's fun. But, I think they did okay with what they have.
But now, one underrated aspect for Finland, and it's always been this way, is now it wasn't until recently that they've started actually developing goal scoring, because they've always been focused on putting a team together, like building players to be team players, not individualists. Like, they've always had a very team first, and that could help them in this tournament. But their tournament's not going to be determined by their defensive play. It's going to be, can they outscore you, and can your goalie can you get a few extra saves from your goalie? That's what their tournament's going to be, realistically.
Yeah, they don't have a great chance. They don't have much of a chance at all, but it's possible. It's not like a 0% chance of them winning. They're there for a reason.
No, Mikola's just fresh off of a cup win, but
true.
Again, like, he was the third pairing on that, or like second, third pairing on that team.
Now,
which isn't a bad role, but it's
it is what it is. And we talked about snubs, and there's one page on Instagram, Mbon Hockey, and he created a Canada and US snub team. And honestly, it's pretty stacked. So, obviously, Robertson isn't having the same year as last year, but he's still good. So, this team, you could argue that it could compete. Like Robertson, Strome, Thompson. Strome's another one you could argue should have been on Team Canada, honestly. Because I don't think he pissed them off like Suzuki. Caulfield, Suzuki, Verhaeghe, solid behind. Hyman, Bedard, Keller, still pretty good. Keller, I don't know how good he's doing this year, but he would be the weaker point, along with Hyman. And Kadri Horvat, Tuck, solid, better than, Finland's fourth line.
I was just looking up Keller's stats, and I went to search for Arizona, and I remembered, oh yeah.
Yeah, they don't exist anymore.
Finally.
But this decor looks good,
Keller's doing all right. He's got 7 goals, 17 assists in 27 games.
Okay.
And he's got
not bad at all.
1 power play goal.
Okay.
So he's shooting 10.9%. So he's having a little bit of a step back this year, but he also have Dylan Genther, who's picked up the slack in that.
I kind of agree with this guy. I just saw this comment because Besser's done quite good this year, and He's
I
not
think
wrong. Besser got snubbed from the snub team.
now it. How much do you think his injury plays into that? Like, were they nervous about his injury? Because he missed a few games there.
He did, but he's still producing good. But looking at this decor, it's crazy that between the two teams, Uyghur, Bouchard, Chicher, and Carlson, Riley, Tanev, Sanderson. And this is what's left over from Canada and the US. Well, this is actually mostly Canadian. It's only Carlson and Sanderson that are American. But, still something.
I'd be interested to see. Now, obviously not for the same reason. I'd be interested to see a Sweden-Finland snub roster.
Oh,
It's
no,
nothing like
no.
this, but
No,
just
it
for
wouldn't.
the sake of seeing, it's not worth putting together. But
And
because this team would compete with both of those teams.
these goalies too. I'd probably put Stolars as the starter, but Thompson's very good too. Quick as your third string is completely fine. But it's just crazy that these guys are all snubs.
Yeah, for the first time since Matthews joined the league, I'm actually thrilled with our goaltending situation. And Stolars is a huge part of that.
Yeah, it must be nice to have solid goaltending. I'm actually fine with it now. Olmark's bounced back. He's found a groove. He's done well. Forsberg didn't do too well the other night. He let up 3 goals and 12 shots, but that's just the Ottawa curse. It's fine.
Now, as a Leafs fan, I was hoping that Tree Living did. I was hoping that Tree Living was going to do with Samsonov what Colorado was done with Georgiev.
Okay.
That's what I was hoping. It never happened, and it cost them dearly in the playoffs.
I don't think it was fair at that point to ship him off. You have to keep in mind, Georgiev's having a historically terrible season. Like, he could set the record for the worst goals against average. I think I may have said that either on a previous episode or just talking to you.
Or the unrecorded episode from Thursday.
Yes, everyone. We did this whole episode, and we talked, did everything. And I go and tell Dave, you're okay, you can end the recording. And, oh, I didn't hit record.
That was me.
But it's all okay, stuff happens.
Growing pains,
And
right?
it did allow us to talk about the Georgiev trade.
Yes, it did.
Too, so.
Everything happens for a reason, Andrew.
Yeah, sure. So, I understand Samsonov didn't do good. He had an 890 for the regular season. That's not acceptable for a starter. I don't disagree that he was bad, but I don't think it's fair to compare him to Georgiev, because Georgiev is so bad.
If I had to pick, I would take Samsonov or Georgiev. But that's like saying, hey, would you eat a fresh banana or this brown slimy thing that used to be a banana?
Remind me, Wall was on the scene, right?
Wool?
Yes, he took over as the starter basically. I know he got injured at some point, but
so Samsonov played like poorly the first couple of games of the series. And the deciding game, in my opinion, was games 3 and 4.
Oh, I'm not talking about that. I know about the playoffs, but regular season before the trade deadline, when a trade realistically could have been made. Like, we're looking here.
He was.
Yeah, Wall played 25.
He was the second goalie, and he was doing very well. And he was doing well, but he wasn't doing amazing. Like, he's far better this year than he was last year.
Yeah,
this year I think he has that push though.
He has a 919 this year. Last year he had a 907, so
which is above league average still.
Yes, it's definitely fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
The big issue last year, I think, with Wool was he had some lingering issues. Like he wasn't fully healthy, I don't think, last year. This year, obviously, he was injured. and they had to call up Hildeby for a couple games because they didn't want to pull up Matt Murray, obviously, but for
Hey,
obvious
respect to
reasons.
Matt
But
Murray. He's been through enough.
yeah, he won 2 cups. He's the only goaltender to win 2 cups in his rookie season. I still love that stat. That's amazing.
Yes,
But,
that's an insane stat, but
yeah. I mean, I'd take 2. I'd take the career he's had with the 2 cups. I'd take it. But Joseph Wool's definitely taken a big step this year. And for the first time since I can remember, I have confidence in goaltending. Like
yes. The
2
Leafs
years
have
ago,
the
2 years
best
ago, Samson,
tandem, debatably.
especially for the price.
Yes, there's no doubt it's the best cost-effective tandem. I'll argue that.
But 2 years ago, Samsonov was really good. 2 years ago, not this past season, the season before. Samsonov was good.
Yes, he
I
was
had
good.
confidence, but they didn't have a backup at that time. This is the first year where they've had 2 goaltenders that will give you a chance to win every single game.
Yeah,
And if one
Stolarz
of,
was an excellent signing.
yeah, now he came here because he's like, you mean I have to compete with the glass growing there in Joseph Wool? That was
I
the
gave him a
point.
chance to have some starts.
Yeah. So like last playoffs, Joseph Wool was great. He did very well in Game 6, but he got injured making a save that he didn't need to make, and Samsonov got thrown into Game 7, and that was that. But I don't think the Leafs really were in the series past Game 4.
It's a little age-old Leafs thing, Well, you know how
Yeah.
it is. Even I know
Do
how
I?
it is.
Do
Even
I?
I
Are you
feel bad.
sure?
I'm a Sens fan, and I feel bad. But we can actually talk more about the Leafs. We'll be recording another one tomorrow, so we are going to have a special guest on. You may know who he is, Dave. I hope you know.
Whoa.
You only
What?
lived with him for, 20 years?
My dog?
Well, you may have treated him like a dog at some point, but no, he's your brother.
Oh, brotherly love. That guy.
Anyway,
Oh, yeah, I remember that guy.
that is going to be all for tonight, so
Yeah.
everyone have a good one. This has been Grublets on Ice.
Keep your sticks on the ice.